Jon isn't really my father's son. He's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and my aunt Lyanna Stark. He was born in a tower in Dorne. His last name isn't really Snow. Jon's real name.
His name is Aegon Targaryen.
Hey everybody, as requested, this is going to be my Aegon Targaryen video, why it's such a big deal that that's Jon Snow's name. Now that we're sliding into the off-season, if you are finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get everything. There will be Game of Thrones happening every week, and when we get to the books, if there are books that are released next year, we can decide what kind of videos to do for that too. So on the TV show, we finally found out that Jon Snow's true name is Aegon Targaryen. He's a legitimate son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, meaning that he's not a bastard, although there's a lot of contention over the last name Sand that Bran gave him. We'll discuss that, but there are a couple of important Aegons in the book, so it gets a little confusing in a really important historical Aegon. So this will be all about the 4 different versions of Aegon and sort of the deeper meaning that that is Jon Snow's name, and what it would be if he actually became king of the 7 kingdoms by himself or with Daenerys. Right now you could just call him Aegon, but if he actually sat on the throne, his formal name would be Aegon the 6th, just because he's the 6th Aegon to sit on the throne. So the commonly held belief is that it was actually Lyanna that chose to name him Aegon, whether or not Rhaegar had that in mind before he went to the Trident. Because you have to remember that Rhaegar had ridden for the Trident, was killed by Robert Baratheon before Jon Snow was actually born. That's why the Kingsguard were still at the Tower of Joy. Because one, Rhaegar wanted to protect his new wife and child because they were precious to him, but also because he believed that Jon Snow, or Aegon Targaryen, however you want to think about him, was the child of prophecy. Now, you could also say that he was thinking that he would be the crown prince should Rhaegar die, but I don't think that he truly believed that he would die at the Trident, and there are a lot of other crazy decisions that Rhaegar made. He was obsessed with prophecy. So if there's any reason why he left the best sword in the kingdom, Arthur Dayne, protecting that baby, it's because of the prophecy. There's a lot of people that have been back and forth on how crazy Rhaegar was and what kind of a person he was based on what Sir Barristan Selmy has said about him and based on what other people have said. But all we know is that he was a little bit crazy and really in love with Lyanna Stark. But you have to remember that he also set aside his other wife, Elia Martell, with his other son, who was also named Aegon Targaryen. So we'll talk about the other Aegons in a second, but the reason why Lyanna probably chose the name Aegon is because of Aegon the Conqueror, because it was the name of the most famous person in the history of Westeros and his ancestor, so it was just a really popular name. Like I said, he would have been Aegon the 6th, so it was a really popular name just in the line of succession. You have to imagine that there were all kinds of Targaryen cousins that were also probably named Aegon that just weren't anywhere near the throne. So you have to imagine that in Rhaegar's mind, this prince who was promised would be like what Daenerys has right now, the person with the 3 dragons like Aegon the Conqueror. He would save us all from the long night. So because he was so obsessed with the culmination of this prophecy, he set aside his other wife, Elia Martell, with his 2 other children, Rhaenys and then Aegon. So the whole idea is that he wanted 3 children, and the Maesters said that Elia Martell wouldn't be able to have a 3rd child. So that sounds like the point at which he bailed and went and married Lyanna Stark and had the child with her. So here's the funny thing, he actually expected Jon Snow to be born a woman, or at least hoped that, because think about it this way, he already had a son named Aegon and Rhaenys, and he was all about bringing back Aegon the Conqueror, this person of prophecy, the prince who was promised. Who was Aegon's other sister? It was Visenya, so that's probably what he would have named Jon Snow had he been born a woman, and he would have gotten his 3 children. That's what he wanted. The dragon must have 3 heads, and he wanted it to be a repeat of Aegon the Conqueror with his 3 dragons. So poor Jon Snow just can't catch a break. I guess that also means that Rhaegar would have expected his other baby Aegon with Elia Martell to marry his 2 sisters. That would have been a little bit weird. If you think that Jon Snow and Daenerys on the TV show is weird now, it would have been even weirder if it would have been like Aegon the Conqueror's 2 sister wives. So that's sort of the reason why Jon Snow is named Aegon. Whether or not Lyanna came up with that by herself or whether Rhaegar helped her come to that name, she was the one who actually named it, so most people give her credit for the name Aegon. But what about the other two Aegons in modern day? So you have the son of Elia and Rhaegar, who became a bastard when he annulled his marriage to Elia. There's a lot of questions about what would have happened to them had they survived and not been killed by the Mountain at the end of Robert's Rebellion. Even though they would have no longer been royals, they would have been royal bastards, so they still would have been kept in a life of luxury in King's Landing somewhere, or somewhere nearby. Because being a royal bastard is still relatively distasteful, but it's much better than being a bastard of a lesser house. You don't get spit on quite as much. So what happened is everyone believed that that version of Aegon, who was only about a year old at the end of Robert's Rebellion, was killed by the Mountain, and people just believed that he was dead. Like, the Mountain dashed him against the wall, and that was the end of it. But many years later in the books, sort of in present day, this young Griff character comes forward. Jon Connington, Illyrio, and Varys back him as the true son of Rhaegar. No, we switched the baby out. The one that the Mountain killed was a fake. This is actually Aegon, son of Rhaegar. And they're presenting him as still legitimate because in the books, people haven't revealed whether or not Rhaegar married Lyanna. So even though the books are still doing R plus L equals J, there's still this Aegon that's come along and said, no, I'm still alive, and I'm the true heir to the Iron Throne. Not Daenerys, not any of these other people. For a long time, people suspected that he might be a Blackfyre secretly, so even though he has some Targaryen blood, he's not the son of Rhaegar and Elia Martell. He's actually the son of Illyrio and Sarah, who was kind of a prostitute but might be related to Malice Blackfyre, last of the Blackfyre pretenders. So he still has a little bit of the blood of the dragon inside of him, but is very distantly removed, has no legitimate claim to the throne, and is not actually Aegon Targaryen, whatever his real name actually is. They just call him Young Griff. So we've referred to Varys going to Daenerys and trying to put her back on the throne as the Targaryen restoration. In the books, Varys has just gone to this other Aegon character, and it sounds like he's a bit of a champion time waster, and we'll find out that it's a failed bid for the throne, and then eventually Varys will jump to Team Daenerys, so all this Jon Connington, Young Griff stuff in the books will lead to nowhere. But those are the other two Aegons in modern day. It's really one Aegon pretending to be the other Aegon. So technically you should say there's only two Aegons in modern day. One of them was Elia Martell and Rhaegar's son. He died. The other one that's not Jon Snow is just pretending to be that dead baby. But hopefully that explains who all the Aegons are and what's going on with the young Griff character and the son of Elia Martell and Rhaegar. He would have actually kept the name Aegon, but he wouldn't have been Aegon the Sixth anymore. Jon Snow would have actually had the rights to that name. You would have just called Elia Martell's son Aegon, and that'd be the end of it. He wouldn't get the extra little bit at the end of it because he probably would have never sat on the Iron Throne. But as the show has implied, Jon Snow is eventually going to learn the truth of the matter, everyone else around him too. What will they call him? Will they still call him Jon? Will they start calling him Aegon? The actor that plays Bran, who was actually talking about how this is going to be revealed, suggested that it might be Samwell to reveal the information to Jon Snow, but that the other Stark children won't think of him any differently. He'll still be their brother, Jon Snow. So I think they're a good barometer for how most people will treat him. They won't think of him that much differently. It'll just get a little more complicated, especially for Jon Snow and Daenerys. But honestly, the rest of the realm will probably just think of him as the King of the North. They won't say Aegon, the King of the North, or Jon Snow, King of the North. They'll just be like Cersei and shorten it to King in the North, because Cersei's still going to be queen for most of Season 8. We'll see how she goes down. Now, a lot of you have asked for a death predictions video in Season 8. The funny thing to say is that everybody should die, but obviously I'll do a video for that because I think there's going to be a certain order to it, and there are some people that I'm 100% sure are going to die, and there are a couple people I think will be able to crawl away. But if you have any other Aegon or history videos that you guys want me to do, let me know in the comments. I'll do more character videos next week, and there will be a new video tomorrow. I'll probably rank all the episodes, and I'll continue to do Q&A videos, but they'll probably wind up being for more specific things than just general episodes. But congratulations to the new giveaway winner, Mike Oliver. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. There'll be a new round when I post my new video tomorrow. While you wait for that, click here for all my Season 8 predictions, and you can click here to learn all about why Daenerys might be able to get pregnant again on the TV show. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.